This is Garis Masculist MGTOW flyers, that is 2 3-page essays on the themes of masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 285, entitled Nurturative FIPs. Description. This flyer states that it's important for women to be more than FIPs. Women also need to be nurturative FIPs if they are to be attractive to men. The modern feminist woman is often too competitive with her man, even in the home, which is exhausting for the man, who often dumps her as being insufficiently nurturative towards him. Men want to be nurtured by women the way they were by their mothers as small boys. Women need to be competitive with men in the workplace to be good FIPs, and nurturative at home with their man if they want to keep him. Now the flyer itself. Nurturative FIPs by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. This flyer states that women need to foster their nurturative qualities towards men if they want men to love them. The Masculists want women to be FIPs, financially independent persons, so as not to be parasites off the labour of men, to pull their own financial weight and not be man-slaving fluffies. A lot of men strongly dislike what has happened to modern women, that is, that women have become competitors to men, destroying the image men have of what men want women to be, that is, like their mothers, that is, nurturative, supportive, not competitive, so that many men want to see a return to the old gender roles where women were fluffies, that is, dependent on men financially, but were at least nurturative. To Masculists, this is not a solution to the gender problems that men have today. This flyer is about the need for women to learn 2 new roles, that is, to be FIPs and to be nurturative. You may argue that learning to be FIPs is new for women, but being nurturative is not new because women have been nurturative towards men for several million years. That's true. But for the past half-century or so, women have become so subject to the very powerful influence of feminist ideas that push women to be men's equal, that is, to be as competitive as men, that women, especially youngish women under 40, have lost the art of being nurturative towards men, making such women very unattractive to men, so are increasingly rejected by men and ignored, left rotting on the shelf. So what we are finding increasingly in the modern Western countries is that large numbers of well-educated professional women are in fact living alone, boyfriendless, because men find them unattractive, too competitive, too exhausting for men to bother with. These career women, these professional women, learn from their experience in the workforce that they have to compete with men in order for women to advance in their careers. This moulds their personalities, turning them into competitive creatures, which often carries over into their personal relationships with men, so that the man they have a relationship with is forced to adapt to her new competitive, demanding personality, which makes her unattractive in many men's eyes. So it's not surprising that millions of Western men are giving up on Western women and are travelling to East and Southeast Asia to find Asian women who are a lot more nurturative. I was reading an essay by Henry Makow, M-A-C-O-W, the author of a book on the Illuminati, that was entitled A Long Way to Go for a Date, that is, to have to fly to Southeast Asia to try to find a woman who is nurturative in the pre-feminist style of women's personalities. To get a taste for how Western women were that is pre-feminist, when women were nurturative towards men, one only has to watch very old movies from the 50s or earlier. Women then were largely housewives, but they were nurturative and hence attractive to many men, because such women supported men emotionally, the way mothers supported their very young sons. If a woman gives a man such emotional support, that is, that she nurtures him emotionally, then the man can relive what he had with his mother, that is, a nice, fuzzy, warm, emotional feeling that his mother gave him, making him feel the world was a nice place, because he could rely on the emotional support of his mother. If an adult woman can give a man a similar feeling, then he will react towards her as he did towards his mother, that is, he will have strong positive feelings towards her as he did for his mother. But we live now in the era of feminism and the era of masculism, in which the gender roles have been revolutionized thanks largely to the pill, household gadgets, higher education for women, etc. So that even if a woman has her 2 kids, she still has some 4 decades of career window in which she has to work or be accused by being a parasite by the masculists, who put enormous moral pressure on women to FIP up or be punished by not getting a man. So we have a problem here from the male's point of view. It looks as though that there's a trade-off between, on the one hand, women becoming FIPs by bothering to become career competent, by getting a career competent education at high school and university, thus satisfying the demands of the masculists that women FIP up or rot on the shelf. And on the other hand, women losing their nurturative ability due to having to compete with men in the workforce, making women more assertive, more competitive, and hence a lot less agreeable towards men from the male perspective. Is this situation a zero-sum game? Is it the case that the more FIP a woman becomes, the less nurturative she becomes as a result? It may seem that way. Is it possible that women can be both, that is, both FIP and be nurturative? Question mark. This flyer asserts that the answer to this question is yes. Women can be both, that is, that women can be nurturative FIPs, the title of this flyer. But how to make this happen? Question mark. The answer is with education. Women need to be taught by men that men on the whole prefer nurturative women who are much easier to love. Men don't want to have to compete with a woman at home the way they have to in the workplace, with women who are in direct competition with men for advancement in the companies they both work in. On the other hand, men are also masculists in their millions, who no longer tolerate that women be fluffies, who expect to parasite off the money of a man. So from the male perspective, how is it possible to get the best of both worlds? That is, to have a relationship with a woman who is a FIP and is nurturative, that is a nurturative FIP? Question mark. Women are adaptable because they are human beings with human brains, capable of adapting to the environments they live in. Women need to be taught by masculists that they need to switch off their competitive behaviours when they come home, if they are living with a man, or when they are with him on a date. Women need to learn to have in effect 2 personalities, one for the workplace, where she needs to be assertive and competitive in order to be an effective employee whom the company she works for promotes so that she earns good money, or more money. But she also needs to learn that it is very important for her to be nurturative towards the man in her life, or even the guy she is dating. Otherwise, she runs a serious risk of being dumped by that man, who will not find her attractive as a woman, if she is constantly competing with him within the context of a personal relationship. A man doesn't want to have to compete with a woman in a personal relationship. If he wants that, he can get it better from other men who are more testosterone driven and can compete more effectively against him than women can on the whole. What he wants from his woman, or the woman he is dating, is that she is nice. That is, she nurtures him the way his mother did. That is, was emotionally warm and emotionally supportive towards him, so that he can project onto her the warm, positive feelings he had towards his mother, assuming the relationship he had with his mother when he was small was good and healthy, as most are, since women evolved to be nurturative towards their own kids. So feminism needs to be modified so that women do not reject being nurturative towards men. The feminist push for women to be FIPs is seen by Masculists as being a good thing, to be encouraged by Masculists. In fact, it's stronger than that. Masculists demand that women FIP up or are punished by not getting a man. But today's feminism makes the mistake of pushing women into being competitive with men, not only in the workforce, but also in personal relationships, which only drives men away. The fact that millions of Western men are flying to Southeast Asia to find nurturative women is proof of that. Men miss the nurturative nature of women that has been largely lost in the younger generation of Western women. Feminism has largely killed it off with its doctrine that women have to compete with men to be the equal of men. Masculists have no problem with this when it comes to women in the workforce, but do have a problem with it in personal relationships. Masculists are still men who have personal relationships with women, usually tway-tweffing with women until the gender laws are men-fared. So, women and feminism needs to move on to seeking a compromise between the traditional role of the nurturative woman towards a man and the modern FIP woman who's competitive with men in the workplace. This flyer asserts that women are capable of being both. Women can obviously be FIPs, since there are millions of such women now. Women can obviously be nurturative because they were in the pre-feminist era in the 50s, etc. So we already know that women can behave in both ways, that is, as competitive FIPs and as nurturative fluffies, because the former is the modern lifestyle of millions of women, and the latter was the norm in the traditional lifestyle when women were fluffy housewives. What women need to learn now is how to combine these two personality types into the same person. That is, to play two roles as women in their lives. That is, as FIPs and as nurturers. That is, to learn to become nurturative FIPs. Millions of women do this naturally, intuitively, but many others don't or can't. They've been so brainwashed by feminist ideas that they feel they have to be competitive towards men all the time, rather than only in the workplace. Instead, women need to learn that when they are with their man, that women should switch on their nurturative side, their feminine side, and leave their competitive natures at work, not at home. Masculists need to push the need for women to become nurturative FIPs by telling women that men don't like competing with women in personal relationships. They want their girlfriends to be like their mothers, that is, emotionally supportive, not competitive, not confrontational, not assertive all the time, which is exhausting for men. Men don't want such women and ignore them on the whole, which is why so many competitive FIP women live alone, manless. What these women need to learn is that it is not their fitness that is driving men away. Masculists want, in fact, demand that women be FIPs, but want women to be nurturative FIPs in the home, in personal relationships. This is possible. A woman only has to learn to switch on her nurturative side when in the presence of her man. It's only a question of creating a habit, a lifestyle, a rule of thumb. That is, man in the house, ergo, be nice to him. Be nurturative towards him. Otherwise, he may not like me and dump me in favor of some traditional woman in a pre-feminist country in Southeast Asia. But men who find some nurturative woman in Southeast Asia are throwing the baby out with the bathwater, in the sense that by throwing out the bathwater, that is the competitive nature of modern feminist women, they throw out the baby, that is the fitness of the modern feminist woman, when they, the men, attach themselves to traditional Asian women. It is as though these men are thinking that they only have a choice between a woman who is nurturative but a fluffy, or is competitive but a FIP. The point of this flyer, and an important masculist message to men, is that it's possible to have the best of both worlds by pushing the idea onto society that women can be taught to be nurturative FIPs, who learn to be competitive at work and nurturative towards her man at home. We know that women can do both because they have already done both successfully. So, all we need to do is to encourage women to adopt both personalities inside themselves and to practice being both. It's important for women to do this because there is a heavy price to be paid if women don't. That is, they may get dumped by masculists for not being FIPs, but they might also be dumped by masculists if they are not nurturative, because being a FIP is only a necessary condition for a man to have a relationship with a woman. Even if it's only a tway-twef relationship in which both the man and the woman are FIPs and both have their own apartments. 2A, 2F equals tway-twef. So masculists reject fluffy nurturers as well as FIP competitors. Masculists want women who are FIP nurturers, that is, nurturative FIPs. That is the best of both worlds. That is, where men are both freed from the traditional man-slavery of the fluffy parasite and is nurtured by the mother-like attention of emotionally supporting women who are nurturative FIPs. That is, women who give men what men need, both in the workplace and in the home. Men want women to pull their weight financially and to support men emotionally the way their mothers did. Cheers. Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. YouTube channels De Garis Masculist MGTOW Flyers and De Garis Essays. Patreon patreon.com/profhugodegaris. Minds.com/profhugodegaris.